Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Today we are talking about your employees as stakeholders rather than as just this thing that helps you to facilitate getting money for your business. It's important for us to understand that our staff are stakeholders. They are an important part of our business. And they are not just here for you to use as indentured servitude to help you make money for your business. There's a lot more that they represent in a business rather than just workers. And this is off the back of a discussion that we had in yesterday's episode about what's governing decision making in your business. And so today I thought we might explore that a little bit further and talk about how if we view our staff as stakeholders rather than just as employees that don't get to have any say or don't influence the way that we make decisions, what that really means for a business. Today's episode is brought to you by the Coffee Roasters Mastermind group. If you're a coffee roaster and you're looking to be amongst other people who share in learning and in growing as a coffee roaster, coached by the fabulous Ante Bikic, head to the show notes and click on the link today. So, our discussion for today about seeing your staff as stakeholders rather than just as a cog in the wheel in our business. This is really important because when you take this mindset approach of seeing them as stakeholders rather than the way we traditionally see staff, which, in a very crude way is just indentured servitude, when we see them as stakeholders, we have a new respect for staff. And that's really important. And we're being squeezed to do that in a climate where we have a huge labor shortage as an industry. What better time to reassess the way that we view staff than now? Why should you see them as stakeholders? There's a really wonderful approach that I heard recently as I was listening to this Accenture podcast. And the idea was that it is the employer's job to look after the staff, and it's the staff's job to look after the business. And what that essentially means is that as a happy staff, happy customers. And that's absolutely something that you see in any cafe that you walk into. If you walk into a cafe and everybody hates their job, you as a customer know that everybody hates their job. And the more you get to know the staff, the more willing that they will be to say that they hate working there. I don't want to patron a business where the staff are unhappy. The alternative to that is when a customer walks into a cafe and sees a staff member that's proud, particularly a long-serving staff member that's proud to be associated with the business and proud to give their time in the business. That speaks volumes about the fact that I'm happy to patron this business because they operate as a unit. I'm contributing to a small business that I want to see be successful because I want to be a part of conspiring to the success of the employees. Because my experience is with the employees, not with the business owners. And that's what happens with customers. They come in there and they deal with your staff one-on-one every day. Most likely they know who you are as a cafe owner, but they know your staff more because they're the people who are serving them. And so your job as the owner of a business is to wear 100 million different hats. But one of the biggest hats you're going to wear is making sure that your staff are taken care of. And that's in many different ways. making sure that your staff are getting taken care of from the perspective that they have everything that they need to do their job well, and at the very least to the standard that you require from them. Also, making sure that your staff are feeling safe, heard, and present, able to affect the outcome of their work as best as possible. Of course, your staff have a responsibility to bring their part to that relationship, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're looking at how you can view them as stakeholders in the success of your business rather than just as employees. And our workforce culture is shifting globally in every sector, where staff are being more intentional about choosing where they want to spend their time, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, as well as the time that they're not at work, dealing with the mental health impacts of where they spend their work life. This leads you to having to have a better strategy for wanting to keep your staff at work. Seeing them as stakeholders leads to you asking a whole bunch of different questions and having a different approach to what you provide for your staff when they're at work. Now, the different approach is, how do I make sure that my staff understand that I see them as a stakeholder in the success of this business? And how do I honor and respect that by providing them with what they need and helping them feel heard when they tell me that their needs to affect the outcome of their work are not being heard? As I hope you're starting to see, this requires a lot of work. And what I can hear being echoed out there from people listening to this is, I just want to run a cafe. And the industry is evolving in the direction of this is a part of running a cafe. And it could be argued, and it should be argued, that this should have always been a part of running a cafe. And of the 15 years, I very proudly worked as a barista, as a chosen career, mostly here in the Sydney coffee industry, but also abroad in America and in the UK. I can tell you very rarely was any barista that I knew treated as a stakeholder rather than being treated as just another barista. Even as a head barista, even in the many times that I would get told that this place is as successful as it is because you're the head barista. Or I would hear my colleagues told that this place is successful as it is because this person is the head barista here. That person was incentivized to stay with more money usually. Never once, not a single time have I heard an owner of a cafe sit down with a stakeholder and say, what is it that you need for me to conspire to your success as a stakeholder in this business? Now, stakeholder doesn't necessarily mean the financial stakeholder of a business. Stakeholder is somebody who has a vested interest and outcome of their participation in something. And as an employee, my vested interest in the outcome of this is multifaceted. I want to know that I'm successful at work. I want to know that you as my employer are receiving success out of what I'm doing. I want to know that we're working as a team to a common goal. I want to know what your goals are so that I can participate in that in a way that benefits you as well as me. I want to know that my customers are happy. I want to know that what I represent isn't doing any harm to the supply chain. These are the questions that stakeholders want to ask. Have you had these conversations with your staff? And if not, I invite you to consider being able to do so. Before you go, please consider liking this video or this episode of the podcast if you're listening to it, and subscribing if you're listening or you're watching on YouTube. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.